if you don't care about other people knowing who you are, then you are a very powerful spirit. So, and of course, this is the balance though. Like, here we are, we're tapping into the root of the symmetry. You wouldn't really care too much about this information if you didn't know who I was, right? Like, because when you start getting a bunch of information, at some point you have to question, wait. Where is this coming from though? Who's the ego producing this? See, this is like always a spirit thing. Always. As spirits, we know that information comes from somewhere. Like, we can't just blindly believe information. So we know as a spirit, this is unconscious, subconscious stuff. As a spirit, we know we're coming from somewhere. So anything that we're observing is also coming from somewhere. So it is important that I'm here making it clear, hey, this information is coming from Tahuti, Hermes, Trismegistus, Chase, Clarence, Calloway, Trip C, Trippy, Symmetry, your psychedelic psychopomp from the mind of Mercury, right? Because now you can like, trust it more, for one, and two, correlate it more, connect it more to everything that I've done in the past. Instead of it, just being like nature, for example. Like, this is what nature is. When you just look out into a simulation, wherever you are, all simulations, it's all nature, right? It's all light. Anytime you just look out into nature and you see, oh, okay, yeah, look at all these structures. They're so beautiful. But where are they coming from? And I'm here to tell you they are coming from all these individual spirits who desire to connect with each other. Easy. Now, a Jew who wants to come rape my family and steal all of my resources will step into my land and tell me that all these individual spirits are actually an expression of their God that they haven't even met. And then these Christian colonizing, crusading terrorists are going to just tear through North, South, and Central America, killing, raping, and enslaving all these people who fast for weeks on end. Like, we're just not eating for weeks on end. Like, we don't need to eat for a month straight. Like, no big deal. But they believe that because they're worshiping the sacrifice of someone who did that, they're closer to God than us, people who are actually fasting. It is so backwards. And this is why spirits create life. I, as Hermes, this is how you know you have to ride a vibration. I'm not in control of how other spirits communicate. So this is like the weird fallacy of like, when you as a spirit exit your own space, if you don't know, if you are not being hermetic in that, okay? If you're not at that point connected to symmetry, I guess, sheesh. But like, again, like, I just want you to know you're an individual. Like, and then don't be connected to me, because I honestly, I need to be alone so I can keep doing my ascension stuff. Because that's the point of home versus heaven. Heaven is you being alone. Home is you being connected. Now, the whole point of heaven is that you are alone with yourself, because you realize that you are creating your imagination. Whereas home, you're just connected to the vibration that you're in. Right? So like right now, me being alive, I'm home because I'm in my 8. If I kill myself right now, I will be in heaven. My ego will connect with my spirit, and I will have all this space. I'll have infinite space to express my imagination. Guess what though? Guess what? Huh? Guess what? I'm alone in that, aren't I? Right. So I don't want to kill myself right now, do I? Right. Because actually I'm already in heaven, right? Yeah, duh. So actually this body is just an anchor into this world, so I can channel my heaven into something relatable for all of us to make heaven inside of this hell. Right, boom. So this is where bringing heaven to earth is literally like what life is. And when you turn home into heaven, it's also about turning heaven into home. But it's, again, as we're covering here, the moment you turn your home into heaven, your heaven is now just home. And home itself is you being connected, but in a vibrational way. So home is your soul. right? So like that's literally why like home is 8, heaven is 10, because heaven is you as an individual, as a spirit, up in your in your infinite imagination, looking down on your home, right? So I, as a spirit, I am not Chase. I am not this body. Me being in my home on planet Earth, being subject to the same vibration as everyone else, this is not an expression of my individuality in any way, shape, or form. This is remarkable. I didn't even realize it like this. That's so cool. Thank you, RSL. Now let's get back though. The whole point, the whole point of home being 8 is that I feel like connecting my individual ego and my spirit, both my 1 and my 0. I feel like connecting my binary, both my dick and my vagina. All right, that's the 1, and then the 0 is the vagina. All right, so I feel like connecting my thoughts and feelings, my man and woman, into the vibration, and that vibration is the universe. So this is why the universe is all of our home. Like, because we are creating the universe from our own homes. We have to feel home with ourselves before we can express what home looks like. And then that's what the universe is, us constantly creating and expressing what home looks like. And that in and of itself is then us turning home into heaven. Like, that's what the 10 is in that way. That's the whole point. Because truly, this is then the balance of life. So beautiful. You are in heaven alone. So the moment you want to connect your heaven with others, we already see then, right, with Dissect the Dialect, heaven is J, because these colonizers want us to believe that the only way to get to heaven is to connect to them and not to ourselves. So J is about Jesus. You have to sacrifice yourself to Jesus, sacrifice yourself to an idea that has projected itself into your space so that you can feel good. Right? So then this is where you get the concept of a superhero who comes out and actually causes the problem that they're supposedly solving. So, of course, they're not actually a superhero. They're truly the ultimate supervillain, because they are creating issues that they are acting like only they can solve. And then they're trapping you more and more in their vibe. And they're trapping you more and more in their home. So this superhero is in heaven because this superhero loves to save you. So this is like the whole point of me as Symmetry, as a superhero. I know I can't save spirits. What? All I can do is take my mind and fly through dimensions and learn the truth and record and scribe about it and be the messenger of God in that way then. And then that's where I'm Enoch, I'm Metatron, I'm Ningishzita, I'm Idris, I'm Quetzalcoatl, I'm Tahuti, I'm Chikatet, I'm Thoth, I'm Symmetry, I'm Chase, I'm Hermes, I'm Iriso, I'm Zoroaster, I'm Nabu, I'm Mercury, I'm Hermanubis. I am, in general, the messenger from Mercury. Alright, so, of course, whenever a culture, because it's all civilizations, right? It's a culture thing. It's a simulation civilization thing. I'm the synchronicity, right? Like, I'm the no coincidence. And I'm here anytime you see me, you hear me, you experience me. What you're going to be getting a whiff of, what you're going to be breathing my air of, is that nothing is a coincidence. Right? And this has been like me just learning about myself subconsciously, even over life, because people naturally have perceived me this way my whole life, where, like, even just reflecting back on it, yeah, like, as Chase, a lot of the comments I get at conventions and like just doing like my whole costume thing and like having fun with all these people, and then even like doing acid trips and hanging out with friends and stuff, is people constantly pointing out how I seem to be in the right place at the right time, and pointing out like, oh, of course you're here, oh my gosh, oh wow, I knew you'd be all, and like they naturally, like, their spirits are like trying to show like, yeah, like, I love the idea that nothing's a coincidence, and they like keep showing me like they want to connect on that. And it was weird because I wasn't even consciously putting that out like that, but the more people reacted to me like that, the better I felt, because I'm like, yeah, of course, like, awesome, like, nothing is like, we are doing this. So it's that two-way street. That's the point of the universe. That's the point of life. When you're actually in your own heaven, that's truly just like the ultimate idea of your spirit. But it's not possible without vibrations, right? So the only way there are a few ways I could go with this. Let me hit this. Right. So this is literally me creating heaven for us right now. And thus heaven is just going to be a new home, and then we build a new universe. So this is why J is 10 in dissected dialect. J, Jesus, is about making you believe that you need to go to someone else's heaven instead of making your own. So of course it's not a superhero, it's truly the ultimate supervillain who appears nice by actually being pure evil, but they're weaponizing all of my teachings of actual pure Hermeticism and many other spirits too, by the way, because the whole point is that the ultimate wisdom is communication. The ultimate wisdom is knowing that all of us have an individual perspective that we are constantly igniting into the universe so that we can make life. And the moment, though, like, you start to say that a spirit is not an individual, that is disgusting. So that's how all of the Americas, that's how Africa has been so destroyed and colonized by white supremacy, because they are completely driven by this Jesuit Jesus Jupiter idea that us as indigenous peoples are not individuals. So no matter what I say that's unique, a white supremacist, a colonizer, will listen to it and say, wow, you're a reflection of me. I love to eat what you have and then transmute it into something that works for me. And then they'll never respect my individuality because they can't see me as an individual. The whole point of why this white supremacist wants to connect with me is that they want to eat my individuality. They want to consume my creations. And in order to do that, they have to convince me that I am not a creator, that I'm not an individual. So it takes a lot of light and logic and lies, right? A lot of L to do that. That's why L is 12, right? It takes time. Man, that's so synchronistic. Of course, though, it takes time to use light to trick spirits into believing that they're not actually creating their life. That's the point of the English language. And that's why K is 11, because the J is K'ing us with L. So the white supremacist entities are using light to express their idea of time and create a clock that kills us. And that's the point of the clock. Like, literally us believing that time is real, like all of us being on the same set of time, is what's killing us. Literally, because that's what time is. Man, I've never put it like that's cool. So this, see, love this. So that's what time is. Time is killing us, because the moment we as spirits create a clock, we are now all like, okay, so the way that I can build heaven is by connecting with this clock. And once I connect with this clock, now other spirits who are also connected in that clock will be able to communicate with me, and I'll be able to show them what my idea of heaven is. And then I'll be able to build heaven with other spirits. And now I can make my clock matter. Now I can make LM. So literally, when you as a spirit are alone in your own space, that's heaven. The paradox is, when you want to feel connected with your space, that becomes home. So you can visually think about the Spiders Are 8-Dimensional Beings podcast in terms of how spiders, the number 8, perfect example of the top circle being the man, the fire, and then the bottom circle being the water, the woman. And the top circle, thus, as fire, is your home. That is 1, 0. 1 is fire, 0 is space. So it's just infinite space for all of your fire, for all of your ego. And then below that, you have the number 8, which is the home. That's going to be the Ouroboros. That's going to be the snake eating itself infinitely, which is the representation of your Luciferian soul, right? So that's you as a spirit connecting with yourself after you created your idea of heaven. So this is why your soul, your feelings are constantly powered by your ego. The idea, whatever your idea of heaven is, whatever your idea of your pure, perfect imagination being supported by your space, your soul, your feelings are motivated by that. They are powered by that. They are pushed by that, right? So this is then what the point of your home is. So your individual idea of heaven is what creates your home, right? This is why I'm not a Christian. Despite being forced to be raised in a Christian society, right? They forcibly tried. I cried as a kid believing that I was of sin a lot. That's not the natural resonance of my spirit. I don't naturally believe that that my idea of heaven is not what religions were trying to push on me. So they couldn't really get me to serve them for too long. The only reason I had to serve them for so long is because they've done such a good job at raping, murdering, and enslaving my indigenous ancestors to create the circumstances where once I'm born in a body here, I'm forced to go through all of this because they're in such control of the environment due to using using love, using light, using language, using law, using logic to kill Native Americans so that they can make money off of Negroes. It's so amazing how it's on the alphabet. The dialect changed my life. And hold up, I was talking about a DMT experience earlier. That's so funny. And actually that's why it's getting brought up. So literally, right, me getting born in this world, I should have way more DMT going through my body, and I should be on a way higher level, just physically. I should be communicating in way higher forms. I shouldn't be dumbed down to just kind of being forced to speak English and use technology. So clearly, based on all the injections that I got as a baby, hence the fasting, so whatever, that's how I got here, the fasting. Or else I would not be aware like this, right? If it was not for me getting all that stuff out of my body. And then the fact is, I only wanted to get that stuff out of my body after getting it put in because that was part of the intention. I specifically have created a body in here to show you yo, this is what's going on, right? And then I get to learn about myself as well. So my idea of heaven is not to go to someone else's space. I can't imagine. And now I can learn and observe just how unnatural that is. So now I can see here oh yeah, wow. Of course I didn't want to do that. And then as a kid, of course, all you do with religion that's being forced upon you is make it work with your imagination. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to make their stuff work with your imagination. That's the point. And I was just thinking like, oh, okay, well, the only way that heaven would actually be cool is if like God has a mansion and every room has infinite space inside of it. So now the moment we go into this mansion, we can all have, this was me in like 5th grade and like 6th grade and I think 4th grade, like just, you know, because Christianity was just drilled in so hard. I had so many Bibles. I read so, like, that's the point, colonizing spirituality. Like, that's, they just needed time. Here we are. This language, it's all in the language. So it was literally me, like, even just as a kid, having to make it work in terms of thinking like, okay, the only way heaven would actually be cool is if God literally has a mansion where everyone has a room that has infinite space and we can do whatever we want inside that room. And then when we feel like hanging out with each other, we literally just step outside of the room and then walk around and connect to other rooms and we can visit each other's worlds. It's so funny thinking about that right now. Like, that's so hilarious. Because of course that's just what the universe is. Like, that was me as a kid making my natural wisdom of how spirits create life work with the colonizers who want to consume my life. I love this podcast. I really get to reflect upon this and articulate and then learn more. This is why communication is everything. Because it's like when you create a life for yourself and you have all these memories and experiences, you as an individual learn so much more, like, about yourself by sitting down in your own space and taking the time to reflect and ignite into those memories and communicate with yourself about them, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. So like all my memories from my past, like those are 2, like that's water energy, that's my soul. And by me as the spirit using my ego, my one, to look at my soul and project my sun into it, I am making it hot and I'm communicating about the past. And by communicating about the past, I'm learning more about myself as a spirit, as a space, than if I had just kept projecting on into the future and I didn't sit down to do this podcast for us. This is so elemental. This is practical alchemy, right? Like, this is all of it. This is what life is. This is how we make life possible. It's just a matter of how much we have specifically been dumbed down so that we make life possible for people who don't want to make life possible for us. Because that's what it's all about at this point. Like, I, as Hermes, that's why you can literally Google me and just see the truth of everything that I've done, because it's just universal truth. I only show up when I am working for you, when I'm working for the universe, and you as a spirit are creating the universe. That's why I love you so much. I have so much space in my infinite nothingness to love you. Oh my God, you don't even know. And that's the point of why I have to mitigate the way that I communicate, of course. Because in this world, with time especially being money or whatever, time being the structure, it's not worth it for me to talk to people who don't feel as passionately about themselves as I feel about myself. And this is why self-love is so important. Right? And like, we're talking about real spiritual self-love. Okay? Like, the real spiritual self-love is me as a kid knowing and being like, wait, well, the only way heaven would be cool is if we all got to express ourselves together, and then we get to communicate that in a grounded way. Like, what else is there? Oh my gosh, you're trying to colonize my mind, man. And then these Christians are gonna shit on me once I start fasting, but then they're worshiping someone for fasting. It's so lost. So yeah, I'm the spirit, obviously. Jeez, us. Whatever. So that's where you as a spirit, when you know that you're alone in your imagination, then you're always in heaven. So if I kill myself, I'll be in heaven, but I'm going to be alone. So really, my heaven is to help you. My heaven is being on Mercury, which is connected to the universe, and it allows the universe to connect to me. Okay, so Mercury is my mediator space. Like, that's the point. Like, it's not my home, it's my business. Like, that's what it is. Like, my home is internal. Now, my business is created from my home. And it's hilarious because here we are in this pandemic time where we're like now like very much living that out, especially with the internet, where everyone's business is being created from their home. So my home is internal. My home comes from me connecting with my heaven, right? This is alchemy right here again. So you as a spirit, as a zero, once you have this own imagination, that is you in heaven. The only reason that imagination would be hell is because you don't feel like your spirit supports you in it. So this is why Jews and Christians and all these white supremacists they hate themselves so much, because they're lost in their imagination and they don't feel supported by their spirit. That's the difference between 1 and 10. So 10 is heaven. 10 is you as an ego being like, wait, I'm in heaven. I'm supported by my spirit. I'm supported by my space. You being in hell would be just being the ego, like, where's my spirit? Where's God? Where's my circumstance? All I see is fire. Ah! And then that's what you connect with. Okay? So, I, knowing that I'm a spirit, am creating my imagination, thus am always in heaven, and thus I know I'm in heaven alone. So if I kill myself right now, I'm not going to go anywhere. I just wasted a body, and I just wasted all the energy that everyone in my life has put into me. Right? Like, and I just wasted everything at that point. Okay? So, and at that point, that's where like the universe wouldn't even let me die. Like, no matter how hard I really tried, the point is I got called here for a purpose, because that's my business as Mercury, as Hermes. So Mercury, boom, my simulation that connects me to the universe is what allows other simulations to call me away to chase the desire to teach Hermeticism and Semicism, and just share with you the wisdom of how you as a spirit create life by making your imagination work with all of us as spirits, and how we can learn way more about that by reflecting upon nature. So that's why symmetry is all about being the champion of nature. It's about nature being the balance that connects all spirits. So that's literally, nature is already heaven. I hate white supremacists. Like, we're already in heaven right now. We're making nature. It's just being colonized so hard by people who need to eat us. Oh. Alright, so how does Hermes turn home into heaven? I mean, well, that's like, I just went really deep into all that, right? Like, this is an hour of getting into home in heaven. Because heaven kind of doesn't exist. Because that's the point. That's what we have boiled down right here. Heaven does not exist. Heaven is constantly created from your home. And home is created from your heaven, from connecting with your idea of heaven. So you as a spirit are first 0, you then put out your 1, your individuality. You are always an individual. The moment you connect with your individuality, you create an 8. You create the infinite subconscious waters. Now you have an idea of what makes you happy and what you hate, because that's the point of home. When you're at home, you still see things you hate. So when you're at home, you're not in heaven. But the point is, like, the only way that you could be in home is if you had an idea of heaven, or else there wouldn't even be a home to observe, right? So if you literally did not have all these ideas of heaven that were being created from your space, you wouldn't even be able to vibe with the concept of a home. So this is why we're subconsciously just like turning life into heaven, but it's always home. So nature is all of our homes, and we're constantly alchemizing nature into our own heaven, into something that supports our spirit, into not an 8 but a 10, right? So when you're at home, when you're in nature, it's all one vibe, but nothing in that vibe is expressing you, right? So you step outside, you're in nature, whoa, it's infinite, it's all subconscious, infinite water connected by spirits who want to hang out. Yeah, but none of it expresses you. So then that's where you don't feel like you're in heaven, because now you're like, yeah, this is cool, it's all infinite, but what about me? And then that's where you start working to transform home into heaven. So on a practical level, then, in that way, right, turning home into heaven is the point of cynicism, right? So the only reason you have your idea of home is knowing that you created your awareness, and then that is hermetic, and you connecting with your awareness is somatic, and that in and of itself is home. So it's like you feel like you're at home, yet you can always see heaven. So this is how we bring heaven into home, into nature, because we are always seeing our ego, but no one can see your ego. Like, just because you're looking at my body as Chase does not mean you're actually seeing me at all. You're not seeing my spirit, and you are not seeing my imagination. Okay, so you're not seeing at all who I am. You are seeing the structure that I'm using to connect with you. And that is what creates the home. So now you can get lost in the vibration and the perceptions and projections of all the ways in which our bodies connect. But you'll never be able to perceive or be connected to my heaven until I bring my imagination into home, into the universe I'm a part of, and communicate like I'm doing now. So how does Hermes turn home into heaven? Making this podcast, literally. Like, this is literally me in heaven, being the most productive with my time and communicating as I possibly could. Like, this is like the best way I can present my value in the English language at this time, especially me being in a home and alchemizing this home, alchemizing the natural environment I'm in as Chase into something that supports my spirit. I do that by communicating, just like everyone else, right? But we all do it differently. We all do it in our own individual way, because that's all we know how. I only know how to be myself. I only know how to be my individual. I can only express myself from my soul and all of my organic memories as Iracel. So this is why it's so important for you, of course, to be yourself, right? We know individuality, boom, love yourself. Because as a spirit, there's nothing else but you. Like, the moment you connected to the universe, you're only going to be learning about you. You're only going to learn who you are when you're alone in your own space. And the whole point of you wanting to be alive in a body in the universe is that you want to connect your individual heaven to the universe. So like, I'm called from my space to be here so that I can experience the same vibe as you. I can go through the same astral travels as you, and we can relate in a grounded way. And now, if you're willing to listen, you can get a perception of my heaven. You have no idea the worlds that I'm in, the things that I see, the way that my ego connects with my spirit. You have no idea until you listen. So that's the 8. So we're sitting in a home right now. We're in a vibe. This is our 8 vibe structure, our soul. And you, by connecting with this vibe, with this 8, by us creating a soul together, you are able to see and perceive my heaven based on how I articulate it with words. So it's like so many different like layers and levels of like if you could even possibly understand me based on what I'm saying right now, because of so many, like just all these layers of translation that are necessary for us to connect with these lights and make sense of life. So like this is literally the most productive I could possibly be with my time right now, like just straight up, versus talking to all these people in my life, just so like all these people where it's just like they're not building anything. Like literally the moment I'm speaking into this structure and creating this podcast, I'm building something that everyone who is in the same vibration that I am can connect with in a way that allows them to build their own heavens. How lit is that? Like what? This whole podcast, everything with symmetry, everything with Mercury is about you building your own heaven, knowing that you as a spirit are connecting to the universal home to express your individuality. And that in and of itself is you being in heaven. Now, if you don't feel like you're a spirit connected with yourself, you're going to express your individuality as you being in hell. So this is literally me, like, I know we're in hell. Most people in my life, they're not in a heaven state. They are nowhere close to being able to perceive me on the level that I'm communicating at all, in any way, shape, or form. Like, no. And it was clear just through the years of fasting, let alone me speaking the way I'm speaking now. So this is the point. Like, this is what being productive is. You see me hitting this ST ability, being alone, I'm having sex with myself. I'm bringing my serpents, I'm bringing my snake, my ability to communicate, to slither into other gardens, into my own garden, into my own soul. Okay, so I'm being the most productive I can by taking my snake not into other people's spaces. I'm not trying to call people and like talk to bunches of people. I'm literally being hermetic. I'm being Callaway with the caduceus, and I am connecting with myself so I can build the symmetry that allows all of us to connect in an actually harmonious, healthy, happy, and hermetic way. So, life is magical, right? This is the whole point, that us as spirits make life, and thus we are the magic. And anyone trying to tell you that you are not magical, they're trying to colonize your magic, and they want to make your imagination work for them. This is why we are in the situation that we are in now. So, turning your home into heaven, I mean, it's like all that, like, right? Like, I went so hard on this. You know, like, this is so, because literally, I just have the question, how does Hermes turn home into heaven? And I'm not thinking about it nearly this deep. So, this is literally, boom, this is how. Hermes turns home into heaven by connecting with himself, by literally playing out the caduceus, by taking his snakes, wrapping them around his own soul to create his own tree, to fly up into his own spirit, to sprout wings that allow him to communicate with all spirits in the universe. And just get all the air out, take flight, and now that's true freedom. And now I'm simultaneously grounded, yet free. I can go anywhere, I can see anything, and then I can bring it back to communicate it to you. It's very fun. I can't imagine anything else. Much love. Mwah.